What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the channel. Now we got another Ranger update video for you guys. We've been hauling ass on this project. Of course, coming into springtime, so I got a lot more time to work on this thing. Pretty much said we're done with sledding for the year, but this is main priority. I really want this thing running really soon. So let's start off with the fuel cell. So I've been working on this for a while. Just got done the mounts yesterday. So we've got 3-inch flat bar, 3/16, or sorry, this is 3-inch angle iron. We just got to go ahead, cut this, smooth it out, and these are our mounts, stuff like that. And of course, just stitched on the back. This is the bottom of the tank. Let me just roll this over quick, and I'll show you guys what it is. This tank goes in the back of the Ranger. So this is our fuel tank we've been building. It should be about 120 liters the way it sits. Now only filled to about 90%. Well, you know, 100 to 110 liters is what it's gonna be. But as you can see inside, we got some baffling. Now this was a sheet of 1/8 inch thick. We took to bend it at home here, because we don't have a brake or anything like that. So what you do is you just take and you score the steel right across with a grinder, cut it down to the thickness you want, and then you can bend it. And then once you're done bending, of course, you have to go back in, weld this corner. So weld on the outside and then on the inside as well. We have our pickup tube here, and we have our return tube. Pickup tube, I kind of went ahead, I built this little suction cup kind of thing. All that's supposed to do, theoretically, reduce the turbulence of sloshing for our pickup. Now we're going to be running a fast pump on this, so we'll have good clean fuel going up to the engine. But yeah, that's the fuel tank. And of course, we're just using factory holes. That's what's going to bolt this to. We're just going to run 3/8 bolts, be nice and easy, and with these flanges it doesn't move very much. So that's our fuel tank. Now a couple other things we've done. I can't remember where I left off in the last video, but let's go to the inside here. So we have our pedals done. All our linkages are hooked up, so we actually have a throttle pedal hooked up to the pump. You know, our brake pedal is in, and also our clutch. Cut up the you know, the factory pedal box kind of thing. Had to shorten it a little bit, and we'll add some mounts from here up to our top bar. And then of course we'll put in verticals here, and then we'll do a dash bar inside here as well. Also, we have, of course, our shifters in, and we put our transfer case shifter. Our up pipe's done. I don't know if I showed you guys that for our turbo. So we got that done for the hood stack. It's temporary. I want to build it out a 4-inch, but I just had some 3-inch laying around. Another big thing, I put the motor in. We didn't have the starter on it because I wanted the engine centered. So the biggest thing with weight on this is you want it very centered. You want the center of mass like fairly even, and I'll try and balance it through building. But we had to do some fancy stuff with our starter. This does have a gear reduction starter on it. We just had to modify it a little bit. So here you see we got this little trick plate built that mounts the starter in. Now I'm gonna rip this off quick, and I want to show you guys what we did there. So let's talk about this piece, because this was a very interesting thing that I had to build. So this has a gear reduction starter. I don't know if this is factory or not. I don't think so. but it had this little 1/2-inch spacer that adapts the gear reduction to the bell housing. Now the reason for this is obviously the snout on this is a lot thicker than the factory starter was. Now if this is a factory piece, let me know. I really don't know. But at the point of where this sucker sits, that red mark here, that's perfectly straight. So this starter, this would be the top, right? So it sits at like a massive 45-degree, kind of like that, away from the block. Now that works on the Dodges. In our case, it would hit the frame. So what we had to do is, I got this piece made. It's 6 1/4 inches in diameter. This is 4140 steel. Very good, strong steel. Now, if you pretend this is our starter, beforehand, the starter used to sit like that. So this was top, but the starter used to sit way out to the side. Now, I still needed the through holes because we have to bolt this flange to the bell housing. So just using these cap screws, 12.9s, they're metric, they fit in there. So this bolts to our bell housing, and then what I'm able to do, pretend this is the starter, we can now index the starter to here, which by doing that moves the motor from sitting at this angle to now the motor sits straight up and down, and we're able to now bolt our starter into place. So this was a complete circle. I ended up just cutting out this because we have a relief, because we have part of the block that comes into here. So it ended up going really, really well. Of course, then just drill and tap using the same cap screws again, and we can now thread into this block or this billet, and we have a good secure spot to mount our starter. So this was a cool, really cool thing to build. You know, cost on it is quite expensive. It was about 500 bucks by the time it was done, but you can't get these, so it is what it is. But now we can put this gear reduction starter into place. So this was a really cool thing to build. For me, this is exciting, because you take a problem that you have, you go get something built at a machine shop. Now if we had a lathe and a mill, I could do this in-house. We don't have that yet. So, you know, every time you have an issue like that, there's always a solution. Now we got really lucky because we already had this adapter in there. So it was very easy. We didn't have to modify or change anything. We just had to get this spacer built. But super, super cool. So we actually have a starter. We got engine harness. We got to get that all figured out. And of course we have to take the factory harness, pretty much strip all this covering off. I got to hook it up, and then I got to figure out what sensors and what little things that we don't have on the motor anymore, so we can get rid of it. I don't know if I'm going to use this factory connector, or sorry, this is the ECU. We got to keep that. But we got these factory connectors that Dodge used. Probably change those out for some newer Deutz connectors or something. I got a bunch of parts for the fuel tank still coming. We're gonna have a fuel float. We also have a cap coming, and I gotta finish that before I close the sides, even though I might get these side plates all cut and bent. So yeah, we might actually try and get this into place and then build a battery tray. Batteries are gonna go right here, and then we're gonna build some kind of a little bed, because I picked up a cooler that fits perfectly back here. But we gotta make sure we have clearance with the rear. So the bed's probably gonna go on top and just be nice and simple. And then also our batteries are gonna mount here as well. So a lot of things we're working on. I'm going to try and do some stuff and show you as much as I can do in this video. Alright, so it's the next day, but we made a bunch of headway there yesterday. We have most of the floor done. We got the firewall on passenger side done. So we used 1/16 of an inch steel. We went from our outside frame rail to our actual chassis frame rail. Welded that plate in. Now, we got this 1/8 inch steel. This is going to be the main floor that our trans tunnel is going to bolt to. Now, I'm trying to make this as modular as possible, just so if we have to work on this thing, we can pull the floor out. Because there's not a whole lot of room to get the transfer case out back, so it'll be really easy to just pull the seat and then this can come out. So this will end up getting bolted in. We'll weld nuts on the bottom or whatever, but we'll bolt this. We're going to center it, drill some holes, bolt it. Make that happen. The other thing we're going to try and get done in this video is let's put a dash in it. So what we're going to have to do is put some uprights. We'll go from this bar down to our sidebars. It'll just be a nice vertical piece. With that, then we'll run a dash bar straight across. And then we'll use some of our 1/16 of an inch. We'll put kind of a shell on top. That'll be the top of our dashboard. And then we'll run a dash just straight across. You know, steering wheel gauges, all that other stuff will mount in. And then we have somewhere to put our, you know, fuse panels and the ECU and all that good jazz. So I got some tubing. I got to pull it out. We'll measure. We'll get some shit cut. And we'll try and get a dash into here today. So we've been super busy. I ended up actually not restarting the time lapse, so you guys missed some things. But we have our uprights, we have our dash bar, we have an actual dash pad welded in. So the dash is welded. I wanted it nice and solid. But our gauge panel, or the front of our dash here, this actually has a piece behind it, and then of course our shell is bolted on top. So quickly, I'm going to rip this off and then show you guys what's behind here. So yeah, this is what's behind that dash pad. or not dash pad, but the whatever, the gauge panel, dash panel, whatever you want to call it. So I just have this exact same thing cut out as a flange, just so we have a nice solid mounting spot. And it gives this, because this is only 14 gauge, it gives it a little bit more strength, especially with our pad when it's all bolted in. But yeah, guys, we got a lot coming along on this. Pretty soon we got to get to doing wiring. We got to get our gauges, and we got to get switches and all that stuff. That's why we need the dash pad done. And yeah, so we got a lot going on. We got a lot more to do. But this is the end of this video. Come back for the next one. We'll be doing a lot more. I don't know what it'll be. It all depends what we got for parts. So we'll see you then.